Hello and welcome to today's podcast episode, which is episode 8. And today's topic is about 3 things that lead to self-sabotage and 3 things that allow you to be self-serving. So I wanted to do this topic because self-sabotage is something that is talked about a lot these days in the health wellness industry, and so I thought I'd talk about 3 things that lead to self-sabotage and the 3 things that allow you to be self-serving. So I was thinking, what is the opposite to self-sabotage? And so I was like googling what they were like opposite, like antonyms to sabotage, and there were a few words that came up, such as sustaining, preserving, and I went with serving. So self-serving, because I think that really puts it in a really nice way as to how you can do things for yourself, so you can be self-serving. And so let's start off with the 3 things. No, let's start off with one thing that leads to self-sabotage. And the one thing, right, that I see a lot that does lead to self-sabotage is when people or you don't set goals or commit to a goal that is going to be helpful. And everyone knows that making goals are an important part of a process towards achieving something. But the many goals that I hear from brides or just women in general are about losing X pounds or losing a certain amount of weight. Or you get others who just don't have any goals at all. They just know they want to lose weight, okay, but they don't have any goals. And neither of these are helpful and can often lead to self-sabotage. And when you, for example, when you set goals that are reliant on a number, and you don't, let's say, reach that number, or you're so set on making sure that every week you need to see the scales dropping, right? It's upsetting when it doesn't happen, and it probably makes you feel like you failed or you've been bad when you don't see those numbers dropping, right? And that's because, right, you know that you haven't been doing all the good things that you should have done, and instead you've been doing all the bad things, right, that you shouldn't have done. So the kind of state that it creates is a really negative mindset, and you start saying to yourself, oh, I should know better, and generally, yeah, you do you do know better, but it happens anyways, and so you feel crap about it, and when you sort of feel crap about something, you feel like you failed. It makes you it creates this self-sabotage state. You're literally leading yourself into that position. No one has created that for you. You've literally done that yourself. You've set a goal that's reliant on a number, and when you don't do the things that make you see the scales dropping, and sometimes, right, it's frustrating because maybe you are doing all the things, you're eating, I say inverted commas, healthily. You're not eating your carbs, which apparently people have told you that you should do. You're eating less calories. You're eating very low calories. You're not drinking glasses of wine, all the time. You're not cheating and eating and binge eating, and yet you still don't see the scales dropping. And so when that happens, it is so hard to then think positively and to then get yourself into this mindset where you're actually self-serving. You know, when you set yourself a goal to lose, let's say 10, 20, 30 pounds, you know, or you must weigh this much by your wedding. The problem with that is that you are making it absolutely miserable for yourself, because you put so much pressure on the actual weight loss factor, okay, rather than focusing on what really matters, which is consistency, okay, because consistency is what will lead you to get results, okay. Consistency is what leads you to results, you know, not the numbers on a scale. And so, you know, for anyone who, let's say, doesn't set any goals, but you know, you don't like the way that you look, but you're actively doing something about it, or but you just you're just doing what you think needs to be done, right? Which is like starting to exercise and starting to do this. You know, the problem with not having any goals at all is that it makes it hard for you to make decisions that will help you stay on track. Because if you don't have any goals, you don't know exactly what you are working towards. You know, what is the end goal for you? How do you know when you have actually achieved that thing? And so not having any goals makes it really hard for you to stay accountable. You know, you can easily let yourself off the hook because you have set 0 goals for yourself. And so if you fall into either of these categories, or you find it hard to stay consistent, then you must, okay, instead set goals that are breathable and actionable. You must set goals that are breathable and actionable. And when I talk about actionable goals, right, these are things like, let's say if you haven't, you're literally starting on your journey, like your weight loss journey, your physique journey, and you're going to, rather than saying I need to lose X amount of pounds by X amount of time in, you know, in whatever, instead make a goal such as I'm going to start going to the gym twice a week for this month and see how it goes. Or another one could be, once I'm at the gym twice a week, right, my aim is to only do 30 minutes of cardio, or do X exercises for this amount of sets or reps or time frame, okay? And another goal, right, could be, after doing these 2 things, I'll review how this is going, okay? And all of these 3 examples of actionable and breathable goals, yeah, are what I define as being centered around actions that you can take, okay, rather than centered on a number or a longer term goal. And when you achieve these sort of short term actionable goals, you feel good, you know, and then when you feel good, you feel like, you know, you've stuck to that, you've been able to commit to that, you've been consistent with that. What does that do? That then leads you to a self-serving state, because you know you are able to do it, you've done it, you know, and it's been maybe enjoyable because you haven't made it so miserable for yourself to do it, right? And so if you start setting yourself, okay, 3 actionable goals a month that are going to give you some breathing space, okay, to reassess, to reevaluate if those actionable goals are in fact doable, then you are more likely to build consistency, okay? So don't set yourself actionable goals that are going to set you up for failure, okay, or make it so miserable. Like, for example, I'm going to start exercising 5 times a week for the next 3 months, when you've not been exercising for the last 6 months, and you know in 2 months' time work is going to get intense. Like, how likely are you actually going to be able to commit to that? How likely are you going to be able to stay consistent to that? It's unlikely, okay? So the more consistent that you are, okay, the more you will be able to allow yourself to lead yourself into this self-serving state or mindset, okay? And so that's something to think about. So that was my sort of first point of one thing that that will lead you to a self-sabotage state, is when you're not setting goals, or not setting the helpful goals, okay? The second thing that I think that often leads people into a self-sabotage state is if, okay, is if you start a dramatic diet, okay, or you start eating at a really low calorie deficit, okay, when you have not addressed the basic health needs, okay, and you have not addressed things to get your life in order, okay. And so what I mean by this is that by dramatic diet, I mean, for example, you suddenly start going keto, you suddenly do intermittent fasting, and like I said, you go on a low calorie diet, for example. You know, those are really dramatic diets. That those are the things that I call dramatic diets. And it took me a really long time to really understand this, because it's so tempting to start a new diet, because you know, especially when you have some or a significant amount of fat to lose. And so when you commit to something, a dramatic diet, right, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but if, for let's say, some things are not in order at home, your career, your relationships, your finances, your basic health, right, your basic level of health are not in order, then when you begin a new or an extreme diet that your body is not used to, it's just going to cause more stress to your life, okay? And if your life is already stressful, okay, and a lot of the time we don't even think that our life is stressful, but I can assure you it probably is, okay? You need to ask yourself, can your body and your mindset take any more stress? When you put yourself through a new energy balance, and by balance I mean energy input, energy output, your body will have to work so much harder than it already does to keep you functioning in life. And it will eventually take its toll when you start a dramatic diet. You will eventually, if you don't have, excuse the swearing, but if you don't have your shit together, okay, you will end up leading yourself into a self-sabotage state, because you have just not got everything together. For example, like if you're not getting enough sleep right now, okay, can you really afford to put yourself through a rigorous extreme diet and then also exercise, when you know that when you do that your body's going to need more sleep, but you're not already getting enough sleep when you're not even doing those things, okay? Or I'm trying to think of something else, or when you're I'm trying to think, when you haven't even got a basic understanding of what eating healthy is for you, okay, how can you start to really implement a new extreme diet, okay, where you're deciding to basically limit amounts of food, or you're reducing food, or you're reducing when you will eat and when you can't eat? Do you really have time, and can you really can your body take that toll on, and can your mind take that toll on, okay? So what can you do though, for example, if you do have some or a significant amount of fat to lose and you do want to start losing weight, okay? What I would recommend, okay, is not to just jump into something like an extreme diet. Don't jump into a calorie deficit, okay? Instead, I want you to make a plan, okay? Reverse engineer what it's actually going to take for you to follow that diet. What are the likely outcomes of you following that diet, for example? I want you to work backwards. Let's say you start, you need to let's say you need to lose weight, okay, but you have, let's say, 10 pounds or 20 pounds to lose, and you start a new program, you start a new you join a fitness app, you do this. Well, when you join a fitness app, when you start a program, what is it actually that it's going to take for you to commit to that program? Okay, I want you to work backwards, because everything you do physically and mentally has repercussions. For example, if you start suddenly exercising 3 times a week and you go on a low calorie deficit diet at the same time, what's going to happen is that your body will think that you're in a famine, okay, because you've just suddenly increased your energy output from exercising, and you've suddenly just reduced your energy input from reducing your calories, right? And so you're going to feel very fatigued very quickly. Not only that, but when your body doesn't have enough energy, okay, to fuel or to fuel your body and your brain to function, it will then start affecting your hormones, your mood, your cognitive function, etc., etc. And if you already, let's say, have a job which requires you to have sharp focus, or you have a job that requires you to stand on your feet all day, how sustainable is it that you're really going to be able to continue with it? Okay, yeah, how sustainable is that really going to be before you cannot take it anymore, before you decide to hit that, like, that fuck it button? Because if you are more fatigued, okay, and your body, and if you're more fatigued, your body will want more sleep. If you, let's say, work out in the mornings and you need to get up super early, are you really going to be able to keep doing that? If you're already fatigued and tired, and this fatigue and tiredness is going to start to accumulate week on week, right? And so you then put yourself into that position where you have no choice sooner or later to then hit that fuck it button, which is basically the button where your body and you have had enough. So you then binge, you go off your eating plan, and that's where you have led yourself into a self-sabotage state. However, if you actually reverse engineer your physique and weight loss plan, you are more likely to succeed and achieve it, because you are then more aware of what is really possible, okay, to do, and you are aware of the things that need to be done, okay, around the exercising, the things that need to be done around your eating, okay, in order to then build a self-serving state where you can be consistent with your training, you can be consistent with your eating, okay, because those are the two things that are so important to get to your physique goal or to your weight loss goal. And so really think about understanding what it will really take for you to commit to exercising, let's say 5 times a week, or exercising 3 times a week, or doing this and doing that, because everything has repercussions. And so the final thing, or the third thing that I often see that leads to people self-sabotaging, okay, is procrastination. And like, for example, I'll start exercising or dieting on the Monday, I'll start on this day, and you would have heard the phrase, like, there is no time like the present. Okay, and I really love this phrase because it's true, but it's so hard to follow, hence why I have even in the past, I'm going to start exercising on this day, I'm going to start exercising on the, and this is why even after Christmas, people are like, oh, I'm going to start, why January is so, it's such a boom time for the health and wellness industry, because like, people have in their mindsets, like, I'm just going to start after the new year. Like, well, why don't you just start before the new year, leading up to Christmas, because then you won't put so much pressure on the new year, okay? When you know that when the new year comes, okay, where after you've enjoyed yourself so much, after, Christmas, after this, it is just so hard, okay, to then suddenly go and make a switch. It's so hard to go suddenly eating and spending so much social time eating drinking mulled wine and eating lots of chocolates and roast dinner after roasts. It is hard to switch, to just go from enjoying and eating wherever you want to then suddenly not eating anything that you don't want. So don't do that. Procrastination kills dreams. Procrastination, is what got you here or got you to this point in the first place. Every time you delay or you put something off, you are literally putting yourself in a self-sabotage state. You're not taking action, you're not being accountable, and the more you procrastinate, the more you're likely to end up in desperate situations. Let me say that again. The more you procrastinate, the more likely you're going to end up in desperate situations. You'll start doing desperate things like, start Googling, magic fat loss pills, or something like that. And, you start, like I say, going on extreme diets when you haven't even thought any of the repercussions around that, you know. And when you start, you know, and maybe you'll start going on this diet when you really are in no state or position to take on or to follow. Okay. And I realized, okay, very recently, as I was sort of planning my next sort of coaching session in my Facebook group, the Bootcamp Bridal Suite Facebook group, okay, which is a topic about perfectionism and OCD tendencies that, you know, in my adolescent years where I had or wanted to, you know, I had and wanted to tidy up the house before I did any sort of assignment or coursework, you know, was actually, I think, a procrastination technique that I picked up. And to this day, right, it still catches me out. It still catches me out. You know, I have really learned to be able to leave mess, to leave things as they are, to leave dishes in the sink and on the countertop and not let it bug me. Because, and I know some of you listening are like, I have no problem with leaving mess like around. I have no problem leaving the dishes. I have no problem not tidying up. Okay. But obviously I'm just giving you an example of my issue. Okay. And my issue is, my procrastination tactic of mine that I have picked up is the fact that I like to tidy up, you know, and I like things to be clean and I like things to be this. And it really is, you know, it's something that I know that kills my personal goals. You know, every time, rather than focusing on what needs to be done and then suddenly distracting myself by having to tidy this up, to do this and to, you know, move this so it looks tidy, to then go, oh, you know what, the washing up is bugging me, so I just need to do it right now. I know that kind of thing kills my personal goals, and it's probably killing yours, right? Not necessarily tidying up and doing things, but you must, I assume, okay, that all of us, okay, or for us, not assume, I believe that all of us have picked up procrastination tactics, okay, and these procrastination tactics are also killing your personal goals. Okay, they are killing your personal goals. And you know, I really have spent a lot of time and have had to really readjust my habits and my thinking so that I don't distract myself, and so that I can instead focus my attention on things that are really, really important to me, that are centered around my health goals, around my wealth goals, around my relationship goals. Okay, and so, you know, what are your procrastination tactics? Because like I said, I think we all have them. Okay, yours may be, I don't know, picking up phone calls from friends and family, from your mum. You know, yours may revolve around your kids, or yours may be, you know, I don't know, something else. Okay, and you know, and so, you know, whatever your procrastination tactic is, which you might not even think that it is a procrastination tactic, right? Because I didn't think it was, I didn't realize that tidying up really was a procrastination tactic. I just thought it was because I just didn't like mess, and so I had to clean it, and you know, and it was just an OCD thing. But now I know it is a procrastination tactic, you know, and so you need to figure out what yours is so that you can really start taking action on doing things that are important to you. You know, you want to stop wasting your time on things that really can be sorted another day. You can talk to your friend, your mum, another day or later on in that day, you know, or you can maybe even do things in bulk at a later time, you know, and when you do this, you then create more time for self-development. Okay, because this is so important. We do not spend enough time on self-development. Okay, and so, you know, time is something that we take for granted. You know, and we all have the same amount of time. No one gets more, no one gets less. Okay, but just some of us choose to use it more productively than others. So I really hope that, you know, you know, one of the things that you can do is, you know, is start to think about what are your procrastination tactics that you do, maybe consciously or unconsciously, okay, so that you don't lead yourself to self-sabotaging, okay. And so, you know, I hope instead what you will do is start taking breathable and actionable goals, okay, reverse engineer a plan, and just get started. Just start, okay? Because getting started is always the hardest part. Don't say tomorrow, don't say Monday, don't say the new year, don't say after the summer, after this, after that, you know, do it now. What can you do right now, okay, to start to give yourself a head start? You know, if you spend more time planning for what you want to achieve, and you know, you end up creating more time, you end up creating a helpful mindset around your physique and weight loss goals, and then that will mean that you're more likely to achieve them. You know, I have spent far too much of my past just doing the exercises, just doing not eating carbs, doing the eating healthy, doing this and that, and it really never you know, got me the body that I really could be proud of. So rather than just doing, start planning, okay. And when you start planning and you start creating or start making actionable and breathable goals, and you can learn to build consistency, so that would lead you to being self-serving, lead you to being a self-serving state. And this is, you know, helpful for you. It will be helpful towards yourself. It's going to be helpful for you to be optimistic. It's going to be helpful to you being open to changes. It's going to be helpful towards you being happy as well. So, you know, the more you are able to put yourself in the situation where you're self-serving, okay, you are more likely to get your physique to where you want to be. You're more likely to lose the weight.